Good morning. Today is September 17th, 2024. This is a regular meeting of the King County Board of Supervisors. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs.
Here.
Richard Valley.
Here.
Doug Verboon.
Here.
Rusty Robinson.
Here.
Richard Fagundes is absent.
4 members are present. 1 is on his way. Ran over a piece of wood, so he got a flat tire. So at least he's okay. At this time, we'd all please rise for invocation from Pastor Lori Niles, Hanford Layton Church of the Nazarene. Morning, Lori.
Thank you, Creator God, for all of the blessings that you give us. And we come to you on behalf of this group of people who have agreed together to ask for wisdom in their governance. So, Lord, we ask that you would give that wisdom beyond their preferences, beyond anything that might cloud their vision, and help them to make choices that give justice in this community and that allow them to be the people who deliver mercy. And Lord, as they work to see all of the aspects of every issue that comes their way, clear their eyes and help them to do what's right, both in your sight and in the pathway of democracy. Thank you for being present. Amen.
Thank you. Chief Flores, would you lead us in the flag salute, please?
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice.
Okay, very good. At this time, we're going to go to unscheduled appearances. Any person may directly address the board on any, at this time, on any item on the agenda or any other item of interest to the public that is within the subject jurisdiction of the board. And 2 minutes will be allowed for each item. Madam, do we have any cards today?
I do. The first speaker is Victor Chavarine.
Morning, Victor. How are you today?
Good, how are you?
Good morning, Chairman, Vice Chairman, and members of the Board of Supervisors. My name is Victor Chavarine with the Office of Senator Melissa Hurtado. Today, I wanted to provide a legislative update on the work that Senator Hurtado was doing in Sacramento on behalf of Senate District 16. Governor Newsom has already signed one of Senator Hurtado's bills, SB 1366, the Water Tank Disclosure for Consumer Protections Act. It requires that a seller who has experienced water well issues and received water take assistance deliver to the prospective buyer a disclosure statement when selling a property about their well. She's had legislation pass both houses of the legislature, and they're pending Governor Newsom's signature at this time. One bill is SB 1155, modernizing insider trading restrictions for government executives. Essentially, it's a 1-year ban on state executives from being able to go back and lobby an agency or the legislature. Make an appearance before, making oral written communications to, and receiving compensation for that communication. SB 1156, Groundwater Agencies Transparency Act. The bill requires board of directors and the executives of GSAs throughout the state of California to file statement of economic interest and the FPP filing those statements, with the FPPC. The next bill is SB 1183, Strengthening Nursing in Underserved Communities Act. That legislation adds medically underserved area as in a population to questions when they're reviewing nursing candidates for local community or statewide California community colleges. That's one of the criteria now to be accepted. One of the biggest bills the senator worked to pass this year was SB 1248, Yoshua's Law, Safeguarding Student Safety in Extreme Weather. This bill is named in memory of Joshua Robinson, a 12-year-old student from Lake Elsinore, who tragically died due to a heat-related illness during a physical education class in 2023. The last two bills, SB 1367, Safe Program Funding Extension for Animal Feed Safety, and SB 1448, Increasing Land and Market Access for Small Farmers. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Michelle King and Robert Inebit. I apologize if I said that incorrect.
Good morning. You might want to state your name and address for the record. Got messed up.
Hi, I'm Michelle King. I'm the superintendent principal at Kit Carson Elementary School District.
Welcome, Michelle.
Hi, I'm Robert Inabnet from Kit Carson. I'm the Director of Transportation.
Thank you.
So we wanted to talk for a few minutes about road closures that are affecting our school district. Currently, we have on Houston Avenue, the Cross Creek closure is closed currently, and it affects about 25% of the bus riders on that particular route. There's about 19 students out of the 77 that are affected. It's about a 20-minute delay because of that current closure. And then we recently have heard about some new closures that are going to affect our school district. We already have a closure on Houston, and there's going to be an additional 2 other closures that are going to affect 2 bus routes out of the 3 that we have, which would be an additional 15 minutes in one area on Houston and another 20 minutes on Fargo in another area. So with the additional closure on Fargo, that would be about 17% of our bus riders. And then with the additional closure on Houston Avenue, it would be about another 47% of our bus riders. So what we're asking is that if you could use your discretionary action to help us keep the current closures that we have currently, because we're making that work with our transportation department, but with adding an additional 2 road closures, that would cause a safety issue because we have to reroute the bus to go along. We would have to cross over Highway 198, which is the 4 lanes, which on a bus at 2:40 in the afternoon causes a ton of safety issues, which we try to avoid at all cost. Or we would have to reroute to go south on 7th Avenue out to Idaho, and then go to 43 to go all the way around. So it's a safety issue for our transportation, plus it adds an additional time factor. And I know everybody knows there's a shortage for bus drivers. I think that's statewide. And we are still short a bus driver. So the additional time is also a factor for our school district. So we just wanted to share some of the hardships that the
Okay.
road closures are causing.
Thank you very much.
Anything?
Yeah, it's just a safety factor when
Yeah.
it gets foggy, and if they close Houston Avenue down, it's going to add probably during the foggy season. So,
Even more.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you so much. We appreciate your time. Have a good
Appreciate it.
day.
The next speaker,
Thank you. I'll come back for that. I won't have my keys.
the next speaker is Micah Kuiper.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Mike Kuiper. I am here once again to express my concerns about the dangers of closing Houston Avenue at the same time as Hanford Armona. When my family and I drive to Hanford, we take Hanford Armona or Houston to Highway 43 to safely use the on-ramp on Highway 43 and not make a left-hand turn across 6th Avenue and Highway 198. As I have spoken previously, there are many businesses, families, and schools who will be impacted by the double closure. I have talked with many of these people individually, and most had no clue the closure was happening soon. No signs have been posted like they were on Hanford Armona and Flint. The 198 and 6th Avenue intersection is very dangerous. Accidents occur there at many times. My friend that is a CHP officer provided me with a list since July of 2023 that there's been 40 incidents there. 6th Avenue does not have a fog line or a shoulder for drivers to safely pull off. Without a detour road on Houston or having Hanford Armona closed, we will be forced to use 6th Avenue to access 6th Avenue as our only access to the 198 or Idaho. Again, Sixth Avenue is narrow with no shoulder and has only become more worn with the high traffic that it has received since the Cross Creek Bridge is out. Our frustration is with the lack of concern for our safety and well-being of the businesses. While we understand the high-speed rail was a decision at the hand of California voters, this closure decision seems to be a single-handed decision of the Public Works Director. We are pleading with you as elected officials to make a discretionary act to once again provide us with a safe and a sustainable roadways to access through the construction period. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Sarah Clark.
Morning, Sarah.
Good morning, Sarah Clark, and I live on Houston Avenue between 6th and 7th Avenue. And I just learned about this road closure yesterday, and Bud Fergoso asked me, I was like, what do you think about this? I mean, he's got all these different trucks that run up and down Houston and the different roads that are still open in that area. And to have to push all those trucks off of Houston onto 6th Avenue or Idaho, they're much smaller roads. They're not as well maintained. They're getting overused because of the road closures that are already there. So I don't oppose to closing Houston Avenue for the high-speed rail. I just oppose closing it at the same time as the other road closures. And getting onto 198 from 6th or 7th Avenue is ridiculous. So it's just definitely not safe. So I don't go that way. So I would have to go all the way around down to Idaho and get onto 41 and then go up into town that way. I work in town, so I have to go back and forth all the time. Not as much as the farmers that are up and down those roads every day, all day long, but it doesn't make sense. And to have the fire department on Houston Avenue not have access to other parts of the county is kind of a concern to me. So, and that's all I'd like to say.
Okay, thank you very much.
The next speaker is Cheryl Leal.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. My name is Cheryl Leal. I live on 11910 7th Avenue, right on the corner. And I'm with the couple of speakers before me stating that if you could please leave one open. Right now, Hanford-Amona Road is closed. Okay, finish that. Then start Houston, but please don't close both of them down. There's needing of farm businesses around us to have that open, and one of them opened and one closed. Another thing is like the school. I have grandchildren that go to high school and Kid Carson School, and I'm scared to death when the fog comes to have to go way down to Idaho to come across to 43. So please, just one of them be closed. Just one.
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
That's all the speaker cards that I have. I have no written correspondence, and it doesn't appear anyone online has their hand raised.
Anybody else have anything they'd like to add to the comments this morning?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, last week, we also had a number of speakers, probably about 40 minutes worth of comments last week on the same issue. And so I asked if we can get something on agenda to update the community, because this is, I believe, the fourth meeting in a row where we're getting a lot of concerned community members coming. And I think they deserve to get some kind of update, even if it's more technical. But also as a supervisor, I think the first week that it came up, I was under the impression that it was out of our hands and that was a high-speed rail decision. So I still don't know if it's a county issue or high-speed rail. Both we could work with. We have a good
We're not the one
relationship.
that wrote down.
Okay, so it's high-speed rail authority.
We did get high-speed rail to hold off on Houston until mid-November. And the rate they're going, it might be January, February. So until it closes, we're going to keep pressure on them.
Okay, so if it is high-speed rail authority,
We're not our project. One project we're responsible for is Houston Avenue Bridge,
Yeah.
and it's in engineering stage right now.
okay, but the concerns of what's going on right now, then you're saying it's high-speed rail
High-speed
authority.
rail and Caltrans to make sure they have a safe route.
Okay.
I would love to have control of Hikes Rail anytime, but
But we could,
we're learned over years that
Yeah.
we can't say nothing to them.
I know,
But
but
we gotta be able to talk to them. And so
But-
far, we're good because they have held off. They wanted to close Houston in August. We still got a lot of farm commodities got to come off the ground by November. They're saying mid-November, and you know, they're running behind, always running behind,
okay.
out of money.
Well, maybe, well,
The Hanford Armona would be done in April,
April,
talking 6-8 months.
April means August. Right.
well, maybe, one of the least things we can do is send a letter, get a letter either on agenda or just something on your letterhead, but maybe on agenda will carry more weight, with the 5 of us signing to high-speed rail.
And we brought it up to the Caltrans representative last month and asked them, please consider keeping a road open and a safe route. And we also asked them if they are going to have to cross 43, make sure we may put up a temporary signal light up to, if we do have fog, they can at least learn how to use it before it gets foggy. And
I just feel that we've been put on notice as a county
Yeah.
and that we need to put high-speed rail authority on notice. And to their credit, they, you know, they worked with us during the flood in, around Corcoran, 2 years ago, year and a half ago. There was a road that they had already shut down. And so we requested that if they could help us to have another emergency exit out of the city in case the levee broke, and they came down right away and they rebuilt the road. They opened up the road for us for about 6 to 8 months. And now they've went back in there and they've taken the road back apart and they're doing what they need to do. But to their credit, they have worked with us a little bit. And I'm just saying, maybe we need to step up our concerns to them and put this on their radar at a higher level. Because the other thing that I don't like is, you know, when members of the community, they keep coming and then they say what they need to say, but then they feel that they probably walk away, that nobody is caring about it or the board is not doing anything about
well,
it.
the road's not shut down. So right now we're looking at mid November, and we're going to keep pushing on. Hopefully they get that Hanford Armona one done too.
If we don't do anything, it's gonna get shut down. That's why we're here.
Well, it should have been shut down in August, but we did something. So we've already got it pushed from August, September, October, November. We got to push back 4 months, and hopefully we could get it pushed back a few more months after that. And hopefully Hanford Armona is open before we shut down Houston.
A safe route for those bus drivers.
Yep. No, I hear you. I fought high-speed rail for 12 years by myself going up and down Highway 99. So it's difficult.
Yeah, I was with you.
One time, yeah. It's difficult because, you know, when Governor Brown allowed them to do the hike rail without a CEQA or NEPA exemption, so they don't have to follow the rules. If we want to shut down a road, it's got to go through a public hearing. They just shut a road down. So we don't want to piss them off, or they say, we'll do what we want anyway. So right now we're still talking to them. We're still communicating with them, and hopefully we can get that worked out. But I can't promise anything. It's high-speed rail. They do what they want.
What I'll do, my commitment to you is I got a good relationship with the vice chairman of the High Speed Rail Authority. I'm going to give him a call personally after this meeting today. I'm going to ask him to have staff at least send an email to us to get us something in writing on an update, something that we could share back with you. Okay. I'll do that too. Well, I will run that past the chair, but I will have a way to get that to you on there. My card's at the front too. All right. Shoot me an email and then I'll forward you what I get. Come over here, sir. Let me get it.
Okay, do we have anybody else? Are you finished? Nothing. Okay, at this time, we'll move on now to approval of the minutes, report out of closed session from regular meeting, September 10th, 2024.
There's nothing to report.
Item B, approval of the minutes from regular meeting, September 10th, 2024. Moved by Supervisor Robinson, second by Supervisor Neves. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Richard Valley.
All right.
Doug Verboon.
Abstain.
Rusty Robinson.
Okay, 3 in favor, 1 abstention. We'll move on now to the consent calendar. All items listed on the consent calendar as one motion and can be removed by any board member if they choose so.
So move it, Chair.
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Nev, second by Supervisor Valley. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs,
Yes.
Richard Valley.
Aye.
Doug Verboon.
Yes.
Rusty Robinson.
Okay, move on now to the regular, 4 in favor and 1 absent. Move on now to the regular calendar, and it's item A, Behavioral Health Department. And we have Christy. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, Board of Supervisors, Christy Lepke, Deputy Director at Kings County Behavioral Health. I have before your board today a request to approve an agreement with Mental Health Systems, also known as Turn Behavioral Health. They were issued a notice of intent to award for request for proposal number 2024-37, which was for adult mental health services for FSP, which is full service partnership, and ACT services, which is assertive community treatment team services. It also included supportive housing and court treatment services, as these services often are coupled with individuals who are enrolled in FSP and ACT type services. This was issued on May 16th, 2024, in which the department then commenced contract negotiations with MHS. The department currently has an active agreement with MHS for ACT services, and we have a contract with Kingsview for adult FSP services. These are very small programs. They are meant to be higher level of care programs to serve individuals who traditionally are unsuccessful in engaging in mental health services in our recovery-oriented services, which serves about 75 to 80% of our clients. If somebody is unable to successfully engage in those services, typically due to engagement barriers or prolonged untreated mental health or mental illness, they then are referred to FSP or ACT type services, which are more intensive field-based services. These have small caseloads to make sure that those clinicians and treatment team providers can focus on the intensive needs of those clients. But because they're smaller programs then with smaller caseloads, the loss of one clinician or treatment team provider due to resignation or being out on leave can really hinder the ability to be successful in that program. So the department decided to couple those two programs together to be able to allow for the programs collectively to pull from a larger base of providers in case they have that natural attrition. That was the intent of the RFP, as well as to update the program with additional requirements that were coming down the state, such as CARE Act, which is required by counties to go live December 1st, 2024. And CARE Act is an additional engagement strategy wherein individuals who traditionally are unsuccessful in engaging in mental health services can be petitioned to the civil courts to help hopefully have the court assist us, the behavioral health department, in engaging that individual into mental health treatment services. These individuals would traditionally then be enrolled and treated through ACT or FSP type programs. And so we needed to update those programs to then add supportive housing, because housing is a crucial part of the CARE Act requirements, as well as CARE Act and other like services that come along with this population. So that is what is entailed in the agreement that we have with MHS that was outlined in the RFP that they were given a notice of intent to award. So we have that before your board today for approval. It has been reviewed and approved by County Council as to form, and I'm available for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Christy. Any questions or comments from the board? Motion approved. Moved by Supervisor Robinson, second by Supervisor Neves. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Richard Valley. Doug Verboon. Rusty Robinson.
4 in favor, 1 absent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item will be Human Service Agency, and we have Wendy this morning. Good morning, Wendy.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Wendy Osikafo, Human Services Director. On November 10th, 2020, this board approved the department applying for a home key grant from the Department of Housing and Community Development. To access the funds, HCD required entering into a standard agreement and a county regulatory agreement, which outlined the grant's terms. The grant funds were used to acquire the Stardust Motel, and additional grant funding was applied to the conversion of the hotel into the Sunrise Apartments. Funding came from a variety of, the additional funding came from a variety of sources, including the City of Hanford's Community Development Block Grant, and HCD also awarded Kings County Permanent Local Housing Allocation PLHA funding that we put towards that project as well. HCD requires a subordination agreement, which outlines their role in comparison to the city and county financial agreements, and puts the county and city secondary to the state to the state's funding with the Home Key Grant. What's interesting about this is that the PLHA money that the county utilized comes from HCD, as does the Home Key funding comes from HCD. So the fact that they're putting the county second to their own funding is sort of just a technicality. Furthermore, Kings Community Action Organization plans to take over the Sunrise Apartments. KTHA, who is our partner on this grant, has always intended to transfer ownership once operations began. HCD, in order for this to occur, however, HCD requires a resolution where our board acknowledges this transfer, and we're essentially just indicating we're not in objection to it, and is authorizing KCO to enter into the standard agreement once the ownership transfer occurs. Sunrise Apartments is essentially complete with the exception of a switchgear that we are continuing to wait on. It was supposed to be here in August. We have not received an update on its arrival, so we are just holding on. The other projects that have been waiting for switchgears that were ordered previous to us, just talking to some of our neighboring counties and partnering agencies, have started to come in. They were a little bit ahead of us, so we're anticipating that the switchgear will arrive in the next few months. We will then just need to work with SoCal Edison on electrification of the site, and then we'll be ready to move people in. Let me see if I want to double check my notes. So really today, we're just asking the board to adopt a resolution that allows for the transfer of ownership of Sunrise Apartments to KCAO, and approve the subordination agreement with Stardust KTHA and the City of Hanford, requiring that any potential repayment of project funds for Home Key first be paid to HCD, and second to the county, and third to the city. I'm available for questions.
Any question or comments for Wendy?
Hey, I have a couple.
Come on, Robinson.
So the total price tag was $7,866,920, I guess.
Yes.
What was it originally budgeted to be?
It was actually right around there. We purchased the property for a little over 2 million, and some additional money for the parking lot adjacent to it. We've fundraised for the next few years, getting grant money, and anticipated the project to come in at around 7-8 million, and that is what it came in at. Our costs right now, the only costs remaining are we're having to pay for security. And so that's an unanticipated cost, but we want to make sure the site's secure while we wait for the switchgear. We didn't anticipate needing to do that if the switchgear came on time. So that price point that you just mentioned will grow each month that we wait for the switchgear. But we do have money in the budget for that. And there is some transition funding that we have available as well.
So there's really no loan repayment as long as everybody keeps to the original.
Yes, sir.
process.
So the loan repayment is really the structure that HCD required. It is a forgivable loan. So as long as the construction, there's kind of two major components. If the construction work happened and the project was completed with the money as intended, that was the first condition. If it wasn't, they would have to repay the funding. So that condition essentially has been met once that switchgear is in place. The second component is the requirements under PLHA, which is our portion of the funding that we were awarded, has the same 55-year covenant and restrictions for affordable permanent housing as the HCD requirement under Home Key. So they're actually the same requirements. If KCAO deviates from that and the land gets used for something else, or they don't follow the requirements of the covenant, those conditions allow us and the state to recoup our money should they default on those covenants. So this is just saying the state's in first position because honestly, they have the most invested, that they have a $2.7 million investment. Our PLHA funds come in at around 700,000. So that's why they're in first position. We're in second. And then the city, again, has put in some CDBG money. That's around, I want to say it's around 500,000. Anyway, so they've also invested some funding.
Thank you.
I know, I'll give Supervisor Neves a little credit. When we were acquiring that property, he made a comment, we should buy the property next door for a parking lot, and that really ties that property together. So thank you, Supervisor Neves, for bringing that up. So
Yeah.
it keeps our neighbors a little further away, and we have plenty of room to park cars, so.
Yeah, and the site looks great. I mean, we'll, when it's really final, we'll do a reveal of it. But if you drive by there, they've done a great job. The landscaping's done, the parking lot's done now, the exterior work's all completed.
Yeah, over the next couple of years, be a lot of construction on that road from 10th Avenue to 43 with the 4-lane and the median be put in for the city of Hanford. So it might take 10 years, but we'll start seeing a vision here eventually. Any other questions? I'll move by Supervisor Robinson, second by Supervisor Neves. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Richard Valley.
Aye.
Doug Verboon.
Yes.
Rusty Robinson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Wendy. Good job. Get that switch gear here. Okay, we're gonna go to item C, Job Training Office, and we have Julieta. Morning, Julieta.
Good morning, everyone. I have two items before you today. I will make it very brief. The first one, C1A, is an agreement for the Good Jobs Challenge Training Services with the Tulare County Workforce Investment Board. So I came to you earlier this year around May to approve the initial agreement with the Tulare County Workforce Investment Board for the Good Jobs Challenge project. The purpose is to identify quality jobs and build pathways to those jobs in close partnership with our community college, industry businesses, workforce, and other stakeholders. The Job Training Office acts as a case manager. We provide career coaching, training referrals, follow-up services, and collaborate in regional coordination. We started with a training in June in partnership with the College of the Sequoias. Our goal is to enroll 10 King County residents in industrial maintenance. And so this continues, but except a 1 year, we're doing a 2 year to keep going with these services. So just a brief background, this was actually an Economic Development Administration grant that was awarded to the Fresno EDC. We are subrecipients, Tulare along with Kings, to use some of that grant funding to try to provide training to residents in our areas to hopefully upskill them and find them more job opportunities. So Lemoore College, COS, and some of our commercial businesses in the area have already been at the table with us. And like I mentioned before, we're continuing the work with Matthew Hamilton. He's the executive director of the South Valley Industrial Collaborative. So he's branching out into the Kings area too to meet with businesses to find opportunities for training or to also survey them to see what trainings are lacking. And then again, we come back to the table with Lemoore College and COS and try to see if we have those programs in place or if this funding can help build into some of those programs and get people trained. So this would continue that grant funding for the next 2 years and hopes to use that to leverage for our current residents and just kind of upskill them in different areas. Do you have any questions?
Questions?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So with the initial money, I think we got like 10 candidates.
Yes.
What's the goal this time?
It's 90. So the original goal was 100, but because we started it so late, I mean, it was meant to be all last fiscal year and we literally came in May to do the training in June. So the goal is 90 over the next 2 years.
Motion 80 short. Motion by Supervisor Robinson. Second by Supervisor Neves. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Richard Valley.
Aye.
Doug Verboon.
Yes.
Rusty Robinson.
Yes.
Okay, 4 in favor, 1 absent. Next item.
Thank you. So the next item is the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act Master Subgrant Agreement. This is our yearly agreement, but now the EDD is giving us 2 years, and this is what funds all the job training office services that we provide. So the WIOA funding is federal funding, of course, going to the state, then they allocate to every local board. So the amount is dictated by the EDD Workforce Services Branch. This is what they allocate to us. And this funds our youth programs and our adult and dislocated worker. So what these are is just again, mentioned kind of like what we're doing under the good jobs, but in general, the job training office does exist to offset some of these career training opportunities for residents of King County. So you can qualify under the adult program or the youth, which is 18 to 26. And we work with COS. We work with Lemoore College. We work with the adult schools. We work with San Joaquin Valley College. So we have various partners in the areas, truck driving school. And we try to get people with either low income or other barriers, and we offset the costs of their schooling if it qualifies under WIOA, which is where the state funding is coming from. So again, our goal is to offset those costs so that people can get trained in specific areas. They have to meet certain eligibility requirements. And then the second piece is we also do work experience and on-the-job training. So if you haven't had work experience before, we try to reach out to our local businesses and try to pay for some of that funding while they get experience in hopes that they will eventually be hired on, and then we can transition some of those funds to we're paying up to 50% of the costs in 25 and hopes to start placing people in permanent jobs. So this is what funds JTO entirely. This is the funding that comes from the state to keep us going. The change this year is that it's for 2 years. And what I didn't mention the last one, the reason it's retroactive is because we usually get this around July, always predated to April, and then we have to go through our motions of getting the council review. So these tend to always come whenever EDD decides to send it. So here we are.
Thank you, Julieta. Any questions or comments from Julieta?
So movement, Chair.
By Supervisor Neves, second by Supervisor Robinson. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Richard Valley.
Aye.
Doug Verboon.
Yes.
Rusty Robinson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, 4 in favor, 1 absent. Thank you, Julieta. We're going to go to Public Works Department. We have 3 items. The second one has been pulled. And so who do we have here? Mitchell. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mitchell Cabrera, Chief Engineer with the Public Works Department. Before your board this morning with a request for an approval for a consultant service agreement with Doken Engineering. Through the request for proposal process, the county put out a bridge preventative maintenance program to provide a life extending work on bridges throughout the county. Doken was the only consultant to provide a proposal for the project. When the county put the project out for the request for proposals, department reached out to various consultants to see why they hadn't submitted, why we only received one. The finding was that the workload at the time, a lot of the engineers were busy and they didn't want to take on a group of 10 bridges that they were going to have to work and do the design for. We reached out to Caltrans. We were able to fill out the public interest finding form that lets us go ahead and move forward with only receiving one consultant. So we've been working with Doken Engineering to negotiate the price and the scope of the project to get to the point where we are now. There's a list of 15 bridges that are a part of this bridge preventative maintenance program, different methods of work, methacrylate seals, which are like a chip seal, a surface, painting, some of the bridge railing will be included in the project. So we've been working with Doken Engineering to prepare the estimate for the plan specification and estimate package. The negotiated price is just over 1.03 million. And if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer. And we're requesting that we approve the agreement with Doken Engineering.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Or comments that?
So movement, Chair.
Supervisor Neves, make the motion.
Second.
Second by Supervisor Robinson. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Richard Valley. Doug Verboon. Rusty Robinson.
Yes.
4 in favor. Thank you. Thank you, Mitchell. And the next item is Dominic.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dominic Tyberski, Public Works Department. I am before you this morning seeking or requesting approval of the 3-party joint use agreement, JUA, between Kings County, Southern California Edison Company, and the California High-Speed Rail Authority, authorizing the chair to sign the agreement. As part of the settlement agreement between the county and the California High-Speed Rail Authority executed in August of 2019, the county has agreed to participate with the project as needed and act in good faith regarding the high-speed rail project. The scope of the high-speed rail project has significant impacts to existing utilities requiring their relocation And in some instances, the utility may be under franchise or they may have their own separate easement. In order to relocate the utilities and keep all interested parties' rights and responsibilities intact, a JUA is necessary. In this case, SoCal Edison had a private easement adjacent to Grangeville. The authority agreed to backstop the relocation cost, future relocation cost. The utility will now be completely located in the right-of-way under a separate easement. So they will enjoy the rights of an easement, but fortunately the county will not be responsible for the financial cost. The high-speed rail authority will be. So it's a little bit convoluted. If they were there under franchise, at any time, if we required them to move because of a project, it would be at their cost. Under easement, it's the county's cost. So since they had a private easement prior, but not within the public right-of-way, they wanted to retain those rights. Of course, the county needed to retain its rights. So therefore the need for the JUA. So again, this JUA preserves SoCal Edison's private easement advantages while not encumbering the county for any future relocations, and from the county's perspective, functions as a franchise. So at this point, be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Dominic. Any questions or comments from the board? This shows that high-speed rail did not know what they were doing when they made that alignment, because some of the rumors were that they were tied in with a power company, but they weren't talking. So just another joy of having someone here in our community that probably shouldn't be here. Do I have a motion?
Motion. You want to hold it up till about August?
August of 24, 25?
Uh-huh.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, it shows the miscommunication that high-speed rail has had and how it hurts our community. If you go back and look at our notes back in 2011, we were concerned about construction implications in our community. Yeah, we've been pretty fair to them, I think, the whole time.
And the property at King's Waste and Recycling, as Dominic probably remembers, you know, we had to go through this 3 times before they finally got it right.
This is the Muscat station here.
This is on Grangeville.
At Grangeville.
What's that one called?
I think that is Muscat.
Is that Muscat?
I think that is Muscat.
Okay.
Yeah, the new, fairly new one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
They were
think that.
building it when high-speed rail decided to come to Kings County.
Correct. Yeah. And as you pointed out, that was one of the reasons it was built there, to facilitate the high-speed rail. But again, when you build as you go type scenario that high-speed rail uses, it makes it extremely difficult to plan.
So we have a
So,
motion and we have
Make a motion.
I'm just putting it up for discussion.
Yeah.
What would there be any downside to delaying this about a month?
I'm going to defer to council because she has been, we've collectively been working with high-speed rail
Uh-huh.
to develop these JUAs. So for all intents and purposes, as far as in the field, a month or a week, it wouldn't really have much impact
Correct.
to the project. Now, the people we are working with, sure, it would impact their schedule. But as far as what's going on in the field, very little impact right
so
now.
they're going to do what they want, and it doesn't affect, it's just paperwork in the future. It's
Correct.
what happens.
And there's some liability for the county, I think, as far as the easement.
There's some liability. That's what we've worked to mitigate.
Correct.
Certainly, we've successfully mitigated the cost. Now, of course, the challenge is we can all agree to something today. 10 years from now, when we're trying to figure out what was agreed upon, that's,
Well, they don't have to follow the rules.
right.
So it's just what the idea of the moment right now.
Yeah. So, and I don't know if
We've shown that we
wants to
work.
weigh in or.
I don't know if do we want to, we might get another couple months, or that bridge not shutting down if we just be nice to.
Correct.
Clarification, Dominic, is this the same intersection that's under discussion right now as far as shutting down?
No, Grangeville, it's on the other side.
I will say
Well,
that,
no, they are talking about shutting down Grangeville.
Fargo.
Was it Fargo? Okay,
Correct.
but I'm not sure what's the time frame on that.
I don't know if they have to shut down because they're going over.
Correct. No, I think it'll
They're gonna
probably
they're gonna
be
go
kind of like
under.
Yeah, it'll probably be like they're doing 198.
From council's perspective, high-speed rail has placed a number of JUAs, joint use agreements that are under discussion. They've ordered them by rank of importance and priority, and this is one of the highest priority for them in order for them to be able to move forward with their project.
Right.
We do have an agreement that requires us to work with high-speed rail in good faith on the project or to facilitate the project. So I would say if the board does not approve this agreement today, the justifications ought to be placed on the record to show that the county is acting in good faith that has legitimate concerns.
Correct.
You know, though I've had my reservations about high-speed rail and continue to have them, if we're inflexible with them, it seems like they might be a little bit more inflexible with us when it comes to the Houston situation. So I'll keep the motion as is.
Got a motion to approve as presented,
Second.
second by Supervisor Neves. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs,
No.
Richard Valley,
Can't even wait till we vote.
I'm gonna go with Steve Neves on this one. Yeah.
Doug Verboon,
No.
Rusty Robinson.
Yes.
I like a little excitement.
Exactly.
Okay, now we have their attention. So, sorry about that.
That's okay. I'm not gonna get my call from Mr. Tom Richards. I
No, we can
texted
still,
him.
it's one of those things gonna hurt. We can break
Yeah.
it back and maybe
Yeah.
ask
Yeah.
them a couple favors.
I texted him like a while ago on the issue, but so, okay.
So we have 3 against and 1 in favor of the position. And thank you, Dominic, for your time.
Absolutely. We actually meet with High Speed Rail every Wednesday on this issue, so we'll be able to update them on
Yeah.
their actions.
We got to take the concerns of the citizens and then see if they can be, I know we got other issues at hand, but maybe they could just hold off on Houston just a little bit longer. If they work a little harder on Hanford and Mona first, if that was done, we wouldn't have a problem. I don't think.
I have been in touch with High Speed Rail. They are working on solutions to defer the closure of Houston even later than
Yeah,
mid-November.
and we just don't have anything to tell public and it'll keep coming
Correct.
to us. So
Yes.
just have to have faith.
Hey, Mr. Chairman. Hey, Dominic, if you see me call you later, it's gonna be because I have Mr. Richards on the line and I could use your technical expertise
I will keep
on
my
that
hand
issue.
very close.
That way I don't confuse the matter by
You
trying.
might want to answer this call.
Absolutely.
Other than that, I won't call you. Don't worry.
Thank you.
Good work.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to move on now to administrative, and we have Carrie is not here today. So Matthew, you want to take this one? We have Moss Energy Works and we have Giselle going to make a presentation for Moss Energy Works.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman,
Matthew.
members of the board.
You're welcome.
Giselle Coy, Administrative Analyst, Kings County Administration. Mass Energy Works, a California family-owned business that specializes in the development, ownership, and operation of manure digesters, approached us as a request to assist them in securing funding for local projects that aim to enhance our agricultural economy and proposes promote sustainability practices. They reached out to present their initiative and seek our support in the form of a letter, which is an important part of their grant application process. The board support represents an opportunity for our county to advance agricultural sustainability and strengthen our local economy. This morning, I'm requesting that your board receive the presentation from Mass Energy Works regarding the Kings County Dairy Digester Project and sign a letter of support for the California Department of Food and Agriculture's Dairy Digester Research and Development Program grant application for the Lakeside Dairy Digester Pipeline Project. At this time, I'd like to introduce Eileen Martino on behalf of Mass Energy Works.
Good morning, Eileen. How are you?
Good morning, Chairman and members of the board. As introduced, my name is Eileen Martino, and I am here representing the company I work for, Moss Energy Works, as I discuss our Kings County Dairy Digester project. So I hope to answer today a few different questions. Next slide. What is a manure digester? Who is Moss Energy Works? Are we proposing to build? And what are the potential impacts of these proposed projects? So I'll start with what is a manure digester. Moss Energy Works primarily builds you trying to change the slide. So Moss Energy Works primarily builds covered lagoon style digesters in which we cover a existing lagoon or build a new lagoon based on the dairy storage capacities. And we cover that lagoon with a plastic tarp-like material and capture the methane emissions that would otherwise be released into the atmosphere. Next slide. An example, so prior to a digester being put into place on a dairy, this is the general flow of a dairy. Obviously, we start with the cows and the great byproduct we receive from them in the form of dairy products. And then those cows, the waste, their manure waste goes into a open lagoon in which typically that methane from the manure water would be released into the atmosphere. So there is methane emissions being let off, and then they get spread onto fields as a form of fertilizer. So there is odor that can come off of those fields, and then that fertilizer helps grow the crops that then the cows enjoy. But then when a dairy digester gets introduced, next slide, we are not trying to inhibit a dairyman's operations, we're trying to enhance it. So we're just trying to become a part of their general flow, but while also creating new positive byproducts for that dairy in the form of methane reductions, mitigating the amount of odor that you find from a dairy, and also converting that methane into biogas or energy. But here in Kings County, it's primarily biogas. Next slide. So I wanted to provide a little bit of an illustration. So one milk cow is the equivalent of 2.5 barrels of oil per year. That's the production, one cow contributing to a digester. Another way to look at it is one cow is the equivalent of taking one car off the road. Next slide. At a 3,000 cow dairy, which is pretty common for most of the digesters in the state, a 3,000 cow dairy produces about 327,000 gallons of vehicle fuel per year, or provides enough gas to fuel 45 trucks, CNG trucks, natural vehicles trucks per year. Next slide. So who is Moss Energy Works? Next slide. So as Giselle mentioned, we are a family-owned company based out of Redding, California. Our owner, Daryl Moss, is from that area. We are typically the owner, developer, and operator. And when I say typically, we also give the opportunity for our producers to own their own projects. So we do have several in Kings County that chose to own their own projects. But if you don't, then the dairyman does not have to pay a cent, and we provide the entire funding for the project through grants and through our own funding. We work with over 70 farms in 8 states, but primarily, as you can see on this map, it is here in California. And we have about 150 employees, about 25 of which are here in the Valley, in form of construction employees, operation employees like George here, and then safety, and myself, which is producer relations, making sure our dairymen stay happy and get involved in the community as I'm doing so today. Next slide. Moss tries to do mostly everything in-house in forms of design, permits. We apply for all the grants and the financing, construction, operations, and marketing, and then the ongoing applying for carbon credits for a carbon credit program for the state and for through USDA to help basically we offset credits. We get these dairymen to be carbon negative and sell these credits to different refineries and people that have to buy carbon credits to stay regulated. Next slide. I wanted to provide a few examples of some projects that we have here in Kings County. River Ranch is the first one, which a couple of our supervisors have had the opportunity to visit. So that was the first one here in Hanford. And then next slide, Lone Oak 1 is another one located in Hanford. And then the third one, which many of you probably have seen, is Dixie Creek, which is right off the 198. And typically you can see that one right from there, also in Hanford, California. Now, next slide. Each dairy has its own, which when I say a lakeside pipeline cluster, each dairy has their own digester, and then they pipe their gas back to one centralized location, which is the Lakeside Biogas Conditioning Hub. Because when it's going through the pipeline, it's raw gas, and we're scrubbing it into natural gas and injecting it into a utility line. So right there in the front of our facility is where the utility line and where we inject it. So that's our cleanup facility there as shown. So what we are proposing to build, next slide, or you can go to the following one actually, is an extension to this pipeline cluster with Diamond D Dairy as shown on the top left. It's pretty small right now, but we'll zoom it in a second. So we're hoping to build a digester at that facility at Diamond D Dairy. On that cluster, on that map, shows the other sites that we have already built projects on. Next slide. So as shown here, we're hoping to build a digester at Diamond D Dairy and hoping to build a new pond based again on its that dairy storage capacities. So we build a new pond there. As part of the process, next slide, we start with obviously building a dirt pond. And again, each dairy is different. Design is different based on the size of dairy and the location on what type of pond. It could be a square pond or rectangular pond. Next, we line the pond, and we're required by Water Board to line these ponds so there is no leakage into groundwater. Next slide. And then following, we cover the lagoon. As you can see here, this is prior to the methane gas starting to be produced, but we put in the methane or the manure water, and then we're mixing it, building up those microorganisms to start releasing that methane gas. And then we are converting it into the natural gas that can fuel different kinds of natural gas fleets. Next slide. So what are the potential impacts of the proposed projects? These projects' economic impact estimate from $6 to $10 million each. Some of the including local hire, each project has a minimum local hiring requirement. And some of the ones that take place in here in Kings County include welding, general construction, pipe fitting. But yes, we try to hire as much local contractors as possible. Next slide. Some of the potential project impacts. Economically, we're creating jobs and support to agriculture. Environmentally, obviously, we're reducing greenhouse gas emissions. We're creating odor control and protecting water quality in our local water. Next slide. It's also important to note that there are potential positive or potential negative impacts, including increased noise from construction and increased traffic during construction. But we do try to work with neighbors and make sure that our dairymen and their neighbors are aware of these impacts. In fact, during this grant process, I reach out to neighbors of each of these projects, and typically we get letters of support from each of them, from their neighbors. Next slide. It's also important to know the impacts we're making in the local community. I'm from Kings County. My dad was a former dairyman in Kings County. And I used to work in this county, work for Kings County Farm Bureau. I grew up here. And so it's really important to me to be involved in this community. So we do work with different summer camps all over the state, but junior colleges. We did the tours for West Hills this summer. I have a really great relationship with West Hills, so we try to do anything we can in forms of tours or internship opportunities, potential job opportunities after they graduate. We also hosted a legislative tour for our local, state, and federal elected officials or staffers and county departments, which was really successful. We did that back in May. We also have college to intern opportunities. We had an intern in our operations team last year from Kings County. And we also have safety interns and a good handful of interns up in Reading as well. And then also it was important to note that we also recently invited the different fire departments, and they came and did a training on how our projects, our digester projects, our pipeline projects operate, so that they know what to do in case of emergency, because it obviously is a pretty flammable project. So it's really important to involve our fire departments on that. It's also important to note the mitigation efforts. We want to make sure we stay within regulations, so we make sure to update liquid manure handling permits, update nutrient management plans, waste management plans, air permits with San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District. So we're making sure that we're covered on all grounds that our dairymen and our company are within compliance. Okay. Next slide. So we would love your feedback, not just from the board, but from everyone here in attendance today. This is my contact information. If you have feedback, we'll also be here afterwards to take questions if you're interested in also signing letters of support. We have samples with my coworker Dallas here. And then just finally, thank you to this board in particular. Again, I mentioned I'm from Kings County, but this board has been continuously supportive and advocates for this industry, providing letters of support in the past. And I'm so thankful that you guys have been consistently willing to work with us and learn more about what we do. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you for considering us for a letter of support. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eileen. Any questions for Eileen from the board? I know I appreciate the tour we got out there. I think I told you earlier today, about 15 years ago, I'm on a debate stage running for office, and some guy's talking about how they're going to capture gas from cows and run cars. I'm like, this guy's crazy. And here we are promoting it, and it makes a big difference in our community. I spent the last 4 years traveling back and forth to Arizona, come in at night, and after a rain shower, years ago, you could just tell you're in the Central Valley, and you can't tell that anymore because you guys are clearing the air out. So that's good. Well, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Okay, I have a motion to approve for Eli.
Motion second.
Moved by Supervisor Robinson, second by Supervisor Valley. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Richard Valley.
Aye.
Doug Verboon.
Yes.
Rusty Robinson.
Yes.
Okay, 4 in favor, 1 absent. Thank you very much, Eileen. Appreciate you guys coming. And Dallas, where are you from?
I'm from Maine.
You're not from Dallas?
No, I'm not. I'm from Maine.
Okay, I figured Dallas is from Dallas, you know? Well, thank you for coming today. I appreciate it. Okay, at this time, we'll go to administration. And we're going to talk about consider adopting the resolution for approving the final fiscal year 24-25 Kings County budget. And I see Kerry has left you in charge.
Yes, sir.
So.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
You know, we really have a motion in a second.
Well, with that, no, just kidding. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Matthew Boya, Deputy County Administrative Officer, Kings County Administration. So as you had stated, I'm before your board this morning with the resolution to formally adopt the fiscal year 24-25 final budget. So a few weeks ago on August 26th, that we were before your board with the final budget public hearings here, which after that, your board gave direction to, or actually your board granted temporary due pass across the entire budget there with direction to come back at a later date with this resolution that formally adopts that direction. So this is the miscellaneous procedural piece to the budget that kind of formalizes your board's direction that was given on August 26th. So with that, we have for the 24-25 final budget, we have total appropriation of governmental funds at $515,974,945 with total means of financing at $515,974,945, which does mean we do have a balanced budget. With that, we also have total appropriations for contingencies at $40,586,936. So with that, if your board has no further questions, the recommendation before you this morning is to adopt the resolution approving the fiscal year 24-25 Kings County budget. With that, that concludes my presentation. I may answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Any question or comments or any reason why Kerry left you here with?
I plead the fifth.
Is there something wrong with it?
No, sir.
Any questions from the board?
Move for adoption, Mr. Chair.
Moved by Supervisor Nevs, second by Supervisor Valley.
Second.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Joe Nevs.
Yes.
Richard Valley.
Aye.
Doug Verboon.
Yes.
Rusty Robinson.
Yes. 4 in favor, 1 absent. We have approved the budget as presented. Thank you very much. We're going to go to board member announcement and reports. We're going to start with Supervisor Nevs.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The 9/11 ceremony at Lemoore College took place on September 11th, and the tribute focused on the boat lift. And if you an untold a tale of 9/11 resilience, and you can find that on YouTube. 500,000 people were evacuated in a 9-hour period from the island of Manhattan. The Coast Guard put out the call for water taxis, privately owned boats, ferries, tugboats, all kinds of ships that aided in that evacuation. It was totally spontaneous, no planning, nothing as part of the operation, but it worked. and got workers, students, and tourists all off the island in an amazing amount of time. I met with the state controller's office with the committee on tax policy. I've been on that committee since 2014, but we had not had a meeting since October of 22 for a variety of reasons. But we met on Friday, updating the tax guide publications, as well as discussing legislation between tax collections and everything else that was on the agenda. On Monday, the Kings County Health Equity Advisory Panel continues to meet and talk about health equity throughout the county, and we're going to be doing some what they call windshield tours of communities in the county to try to get a better handle on what those some of the challenges from some of the communities in Kings County, not some, all of them, both incorporated cities and the unincorporated areas. Also on Monday, the Kings County Homeless Collaborative held a meeting. We discussed the Community Health Improvement Plan, permanent supportive housing projects, the low barrier shelter, along with the reports from the community outreach, public information, service coordination, and some of the street outreach that is taking place by different organizations. And then today's Constitution Day, the anniversary of the day when U.S. Constitution was adopted and signed by the 38 individuals of the Continental Congress in 1787. In the 237 years since its adoption, the Constitution founding the America, there have been a total of 27 amendments. 10 of them are the Bill of Rights. And I used to argue with political science teachers. 2 of them don't count because one of them had to do with prohibition and the other one took prohibition off. So I think those 2 don't even count. But, you know, it's pretty amazing that the document has existed and continues to make America. So with that, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Supervisor Valley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, welcome back, and I want to thank you for the time that you took to represent the county in Washington, D.C. I know that takes a lot. Made it back safe, and I know that takes a lot of energy, and appreciate your dedication to the county for going to do that.
What was that call from the bail bondsman?
Yes.
I didn't get in trouble.
Oh.
No,
Yeah, there was no conviction, but I just.
Yeah, we saw it on TMZ.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, Mr. Chair, 2 things. One, tomorrow, as you know, is the city county coordinating meeting. And I texted Greg Gatska a few minutes ago too. He said the menu is going to be sliced pork, chicken, scalloped potatoes, and rice, and a bunch of homemade desserts. So
very cool. Where's that going to be at?
Bring your appetite tomorrow, Veterans Hall.
Okay.
And
I got to go to Rural Counties.
Okay. You too, Steve. Probably, yeah, he'll be there.
He carried my bag.
All right. Well, that's more for me.
This time. Exactly.
More for me and Steve Neves, and it's going to be good food and a good presentation. The agenda last night. They're going to talk about the homeless encampment house. City of Corcoran worked its way through that there, especially at the John Murray Park, where the Veterans Hall, and where we're going to be meeting at tomorrow night. So I look forward to that. But on some more positive news, last Tuesday, you know, after about 3 weeks of a lot of effort by a lot of good people, we were able to come to an agreement or get the attention from PG&E, and we went to City of Corcoran, a city council meeting last Tuesday night to update the council, and so publicly PG&E went to the podium and reported the council and to the public, and more importantly, the families that were there with us in the chambers that night, that, you know, they heard the issues, they saw everything, they read everything, and a lot of what we did was on their radar, and we do appreciate them bringing that up. But they're going to, they made a commitment to get the power turned on by Thanksgiving. And
they got an easement from the largest owner in the area last week. So that was good. That was holding up.
They're out there. Everything had to get redirected, but they're out there. And there's some other things going on out there as well. But as of yesterday, it looked like even the first week, of November to be out there putting up poles and getting wires installed. So that was good news. That was a relief. The families, obviously they want to be in their homes now, but to go from when we started up 3.5 weeks ago, to go from no timeline to 3 to 6 years will power you up to by Thanksgiving. It was a big relief for the family, and that was no small effort there. It took a lot of time, a lot of energy, and I know I dropped what I was doing for 3 weeks straight and focused on that issue. But the families, they appreciate it. They were the ones who had to go through the negative experience when buying a home should be a positive experience and something cheerful. But so on one hand, we have a handshake agreement with PG&E, and the other hand, we're still keeping a very watchful eye. But we had a gentleman's handshake at the podium in front of council. So I want to thank Nathan Alonso for being there and bringing the vice president of PG&E Government Affairs to the council that night. On the other side, DR Horton is also communicating every day with the city and myself. I'll just speak for myself, and they're doing everything they can to shorten the window. Typically, after a power up, you're looking at about 35 to 45 days, right, of what a home development project has to get done after there's power. But they're working with PG&E now like never before. I was told to where they're being allowed to do some things prior to the power up to shorten that time on the opposite end of power up and get those families in their homes. So again, thanks to the board for allowing the discussion a couple of weeks ago. I think they're going to be back next week, Matthew, and they'll, I think at that time, we can get a more personal update, because right now I'm respecting some confidentiality of some things that are taking place right now, but it's good, positive things. And so we look forward to having that. But, I do want to say that as we did get a lot of help, that there was a lot of, the issue reached some of the highest levels of leadership, especially in Sacramento. And I appreciate the response that I got. But as, Senator Hurtado's rep comes to the podium today to talk about legislation, I shared with her rep, Victor, 3.5 weeks ago, my concerns for her lack of attention on this issue that was so critical to her constituents, to my constituents, and to this day. We never got any feedback from the senator on that. So I appreciate the update on the legislation. But, this has went on for 6 years to where a lot of issues where she's absent on it. And I've kept quiet on it for a lot of years, but we need her right now because she is the only, she's a senior up there with redistricting. We lost an assembly seat where we got a whole lot of attention from that member at that time. And he was the one who led here, but now we don't have that seat with him in it. And so the difference there is night and day. And so please carry that message as you're here in the chambers today, as her rep, that what I shared with you over 3.5 weeks ago. And I hope you shared that by now. On legislation, I did some research, and, these increases for utility rates, people, we know that a lot of that takes place through the California PUC, right? The Public Utilities Commission. But there is some of those increases work their way through legislation in the Assembly and the Senate. So I pulled up the senator's voting record on those, that legislation that supports these tax increases, and she's a yes vote on those. And so please carry that concern back to that the people of Kings County can't afford these price increases on electricity. They're struggling. And to continue to vote less on any kind of increase is just not doing your job and not listening to the people who are struggling here and making decisions on buying groceries or turning on the air conditioner when it's 110 degrees in the middle of July and August. And so I trust that will get back to her in one form or another. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Go ahead, Robinson.
Just met with several department heads addressing constituents' concerns and so forth, basically from water to human resources to the roads. So that was my week.
Thank you. So thank you for filling in for me last week. I appreciate that. I also went to Fresno State to the Redneck Student Union, and I spoke at the coexistence of water under Sigma. Got our voices heard up there. I don't know if it made a difference or not, but I was there. And then I went to the grand jury on last Friday, spent a couple hours with the grand jury. I don't think I owe too much money this time for that. But I think it was all good. And then traveled to Washington DC for our policy council conference, which is 8 counties from Kern, King, Tulare, Fresno, Merced, Madera, Stanislaus, and San Joaquin. And we speak on transportation issues. So I was on 5 items out of 7 to speak on. And we started off in the White House on Tuesday morning and got a lot of good response. You know, it's good when you go there and they remember you from the year before. I talked about the double tracking for Amtrak and also the undercrossing for Grangeville Boulevard in Hanford. I had the application with me and I talked about that with the Department of Transportation and also Federal Rail Administration. From there, we went to underneath the Congress and we had a meeting room underneath their chambers so they can come down and talk to us. We met with Valdeo, Costa, Doherty, Long, Abernathy, and then Senator Padilla and Senator Butler. So we had a good visit, positive from all of them. Also, we had an ice cream social. Congressman Valdeo is doing a farm to market bill, which has got a lot of support from most everybody. And his office has found an equation that connects the value of the farm commodity to the roads traveled in our farm market area. I think LA gets like 7.5 million per mile. We get 77,000 per mile. So this formula will help add more money to the pot to help increase our roads that have been kind of taught from farm products. So with that, Rosa Brothers donated or sent 75 gallons of ice cream. We served almost 75 gallons of ice cream. I supported it with the walnut sprinkles on top, and they had a big spread. Picture of me on there says King County Supervisor Doug Vermoon supports farm to market roads with having his walnuts delivered. So it was a big deal. We probably had 200, 300 people come through in about 2 hours, and we served a lot of ice cream. So that's pretty cool to be recognized at that level. And then home on Thursday and back here. So
The ice cream.
it took 10 days to get the ice cream back to Washington DC because nobody wanted to do it because it's too hard to get inside the Rayburn building. So once they found someone that could get it, because they have to be kept cold the whole time. And we had to pay for the ice cream, just a reduced amount. But 75 gallons is a lot of ice cream. That's a lot of scooping. You know how hard I had to work not to have to scoop?
No, I don't have to imagine. I can tell. I know.
I was busy everywhere else.
No, I don't have to imagine.
Any president can sit there and say, no, I want to do it there. Someone's got that happen.
Well, when it comes to the people that manage the buildings, it's really difficult to get products inside since it's 9/11. So they were able to do that and go through all the safety checks, and you don't want something sitting outside melting. So you have to have it arranged prior. So that was really a cool deal. We have even the Senate side came over to us. So we had a good visit from Senator Butler. He came into the room and he says, real quick, we're going to meet with the Federal Rail Administration and DOT tomorrow. What do you want? And I spit it out as fast as I could. And they wrote it down. So hopefully we'll get some resolution from here. In Kings County, you get an underpass on Grangeville Boulevard. It's a city project, but they don't have representation. So I just took it upon myself. I got tired of watching it the last 5 years of someone just sitting there not saying anything. So it worked out pretty good. Anything else? And we're gone again this week. We have Rural County Caucus in Sonoma, and then on Friday morning I have board meeting at 8 o'clock in Sonoma, and I'm running the Amtrak San Joaquin at 11 o'clock in Martinez. So be a busy week. Might take Saturday off.
Ian?
Yeah. Okay, at this point we'll go to upcoming events. Matthew, you ready for this?
First, I'll give you some board correspondence here. So the board received correspondence dated September 3rd, 2024 from the American Medical Association regarding a request to submit nominations for the 2024 AMA Award for Outstanding Government Service. The board also received the treasurer's report of cash and investments for July 2024, together with the monthly fund balance report for July 2024 from Eric Urena, who is our Kings County Director of Finance here. Your board also received the Kings County Operational Area Report for the week of September 9th, 2024 from the Fire Department. And lastly, your board received correspondence on September 17th, 2024 from the city of Lemoore regarding the 100-year time capsule opening celebration, which will take place at the Old Lemoore City Hall on September 26, 2024 from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. So with that, for upcoming events, Behavioral Health will host its family member support group tonight, which is Tuesday, September 17th from 5:30 to 7:30 at the Kings building located here on campus. Behavioral Health will also host its first annual Suicide Prevention Awareness Walk this Wednesday, September 18th from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. at Hanford Civic Park. And the Human Services Agency is hosting its Rodeo Employee Appreciation Picnic for all HSA employees this Wednesday, September 18th from 11:30 to 1:30 p.m. in their courtyard there. And the third quarter city-county coordinating meeting will be held at the Veterans Memorial Building in Corcoran on September 18th at 6 p.m. And lastly, the Kings County Commission on Aging will host its Senior Day on Friday, September 20th at Burris Park. With that, for upcoming agenda items, these are the following agenda items that we currently have on calendar for September 24th. Administration has 3 items. One, to recognize the Employee Recognition Committee members and volunteers for the 2024 barbecue success. We do have the update from Pacific Gas and Electric on the Fox Home Run issue. And then we have a Proposition 35 support resolution. The Ag Commissioner has 1 item regarding a study session for the release of the 2023 Agricultural Crop Report for Kings County. And Behavioral Health has 5 items. We have an agreement with Recover Medical Group PC for adult substance use disorder treatment services, an agreement with Champions for intensive outpatient drug-free, and collaborative justice treatment court services, an agreement with Champions for residential treatment services, an MOU with managed care plans for drug medical services, and lastly, an agreement with Kingsview for 24/7 access line, warm line and crisis center, and mobile crisis response and placement services. Fire does have 1 item regarding the approval of some repairs to a water tender. Health has 1 item regarding a temporary closure of for an all-staff department meeting and training. HSA has 2 items. 1 is an amended agreement with Reading and Beyond for employment and training program services. And they have an amended agreement with Aspiranet for adoption, promotion and support services. And lastly, IT has 1 item regarding the purchase of and I apologize if I'm butchering the pronunciation of this product, but a RACA RGC1 golf utility cart for delivery mail around the county. And with that, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. One thing I'd like to add. So on our trip, I also went up to the Arlington Cemetery and I took a bunch of photos for one of our fallen officers, probably more Otis Tolbert. And so it was about a 2-mile walk to that facility. I talked to the gal outside, told her who I was and what I wanted to do. They got me a driver and a vehicle, drove me back there, let me do my thing with the video, take pictures, and then gave me a little tour on the way back. So they had a lot of respect for the Otis Tolbert family and a lot of respect for me to be there to take those pictures. So that was a big deal. And then we started off first thing Tuesday morning, and you got a bunch of politicians in the room. Everybody likes to talk. And so I missed the meeting on when I get scheduled to sign up for what I want to speak on. But I was on 5 of the 7 and didn't know if I was quite prepared, but we can read it off the script, but you don't really get a reaction from reading it off a script. They have that in front of them. So we had about 15 minutes with the secretary to the president for intergovernmental relations. And she was a really nice gal, and her counterpart was awesome too. And so I stopped it. And I said, we're talking all these statistics here. I said, but I'm a car guy. I live in California. We all drive cars. And I said, I build cars. I built 25 cars over 10 years. And I said, I have nice cars. I have a lot of cars. And I take public transportation when I go to Sacramento because your roads suck. And I said, I am not going to drive my cars on your roads. And I said, I can't even meet on-time performance with Amtrak because you've got the Stockton Diamond plugging up, puts that two hours back sometimes. And I go, it plugs up clear back into the desert, and Hanford gets trained on the train tracks at lunchtime. You can't even make it to the hospital if you have to go. So you make it personable, and people enjoy that. So when I left, they called at me and had to come back and gave me my card. They wanted me to give them their card, my card to them, and really appreciated the comment that I had. And so it made it personal. Hopefully they can follow up with it, and we can get some funding for our community. You know, we only represent 4% of the vote when it comes to the Central Valley counties. And this is our way to get attention to the things we need at the federal level. So it was really cool. And, you know, I've been doing it probably my 28th time back to DC, and I haven't always had a warm welcome, but I think this time was a pretty warm welcome. So, and even with all the stuff being played on politics on TV, the staff is great to work with. So I do appreciate representing Kings County, and I feel like I'm doing that. So with that, we're going to go ahead and go to closed session as outlined, and we'll be back in this room at 1 o'clock for Mid-King GSA, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Thank you.